This is the big prize tonight, Battleground Calgary. Voters here could decide who forms the next government in Alberta. And Calgary is where we are live tonight. Less than an hour now till polls close. We'll look at what the results could mean for this province and, yes, for the rest of Canada too.
Also tonight,
maybe we got some help this time from God.
hope as France vows to rebuild Notre-Dame Cathedral. But with centuries of history gone, we go in depth on the challenge ahead. This is The National.
Time is ticking down for voters here in Alberta to cast their ballots and pick their next premier, the next government. And it's not just, of course, Albertans watching all of this closely. Ottawa is too, because what happens here tonight could have an effect, a direct impact on federal politics and, of course, the Canadian economy.
Okay, there we go. It's going. Go on. Can't change my mind now.
The main contenders, NDP leader Rachel Notley, whose win in 2015 broke 44 years of Conservative rule, and Jason Kenney, the new leader of the New Right, the United Conservative Party.
The winds of change are blowing hard in Alberta right now.
Driving the decision-making, Alberta's economy is hurting, which means people's bank accounts are too. So how to create jobs and how to get that Trans Mountain pipeline expansion built are top of mind.
Because people want to see an economic plan, and the rest is sort of secondary.
After 28 days of promises and policy talk, it's decision day. A vote for change tonight will push Jason Kenney, a former federal cabinet minister, into the top provincial job, and it will mean that voters saw past a string of controversies too. Carolyn Dunn is live at UCP headquarters tonight here in Calgary. Carolyn, it's a big crowd expected there tonight for sure.
Yeah, it sure is. You can hear that the band is now warming up, and the folks are starting to trickle in with about 1,000 Jason Kenney supporters expected, including none other than Stephen Harper and Lorene Harper. Obviously, they are feeling confident tonight as the polls are about to close in an hour, and the mood is very different here than we've seen for the last 28 days.
It was a divisive, polarized campaign.
It's the nastiest one that I can remember. And I've lived here all my life.
It was intense. It was a lot of hatred. There was a lot of anger. I thought a lot of people were angry without really researching party policies.
Battling to win a second term, Rachel Notley's campaign went negative early, attacking Kenney on issues like homophobia and racism in his party. Kenney campaigned on creating jobs and fixing the economy, but he was dogged by controversies and 2 investigations, one by Alberta's election commissioner and the other by the RCMP into the leadership contest he won. Just today, the lawyer for Calgary candidate Peter Singh confirmed that a recent RCMP raid on his business is related to an investigation into voter fraud in the UCP leadership race. Singh denies any wrongdoing. It's all left many voters with a bad taste.
That's not what politics should be. It's about supporting the government and the province and the people of the province, and I think they lost sight of that.
I will, as always, work with whomever a province chooses to elect.
The Prime Minister offered an early olive branch to whomever is Alberta's next Premier designate, then foreshadowed the relationship if that is Jason Kenney, who has promised a provincial referendum on the federal equalization formula if a new pipeline isn't built.
If he was fine with the current equalization formula when he was in government, why is he choosing to play politics with it now?
I can practically hear Jason Kenney saying, bring it on, to that kind of taunt from the Prime Minister. That's because Kenney has really set himself up to be a champion of the Alberta economy. Not only that, someone who is going to stand up to Trudeau and to Ottawa on very uncomfortable and unpopular issues like the carbon tax and like federal legalization.
Okay, Carolyn Dunn in Calgary, just down the hill from where I am tonight. Thanks, Carolyn. The NDP swept to power with a majority in 2015, but it has faced a battle in this campaign. Rafi Boudjikanian is live at NDP headquarters tonight. He is in Edmonton. Rafi, how are people in that camp feeling as we get closer to a decision here?
Well, Rosemary, there is no blaring music behind me here yet, but the NDP camp is expecting also around 1,000 people to show up once polls close here in less than an hour, saying that all those volunteers who are doing some door knocking will be here, as well as all the Edmonton area candidates for the party. Now, it has been a bit of an uphill campaign for them, but they are holding on and putting on a smiling face, at least for now, hoping for another surprise upset victory.
Okay, so Rafi, what has created some trouble for the NDP during this campaign?
Well, it's largely been the economy. The NDP inherited a bad economic situation when they came to power in 2015, and Rachel Notley has tried to argue, look, I made the best of a situation that any government could over the last 4 years, but she is dealing with high unemployment numbers in Calgary. She's dealing with the fact that the Trans Mountain pipeline has not really gotten off the ground. It's tied up in court-related delays. She has been attacked by Jason Kenney for the carbon tax that she put in. Kenney often citing that as something that voters here do not like, and she's sort of been painted with the same brush as Justin Trudeau, as Carolyn said, a deeply unpopular prime minister here. So these are all the difficulties she's facing as she tries to win a second term in government, Rosemary.
Okay, Rafi Boudjikanian, he's in Edmonton tonight. Thanks, Rafi. Now, as we have heard all through this campaign, and as we just heard there from our two reporters, the biggest issue is without a doubt in the economy in this province. For years, Albertans have watched and worried as the great engine that drives it struggles to keep running. Our Peter Armstrong takes a closer look at the challenge for the next government.
The fact is, Alberta's economy isn't just tied to the oil and gas sector. Alberta's economy is the oil and gas sector. When the oil industry booms, Alberta booms, and the rest of the country benefits as well. But since 2008, the price of oil has been erratic at best. That's the global price of oil. But Alberta's oil is harder to get out of the ground and harder to refine, so it trades at a discount. As global prices started showing signs of life, just as things were starting to look hopeful again, that differential on Alberta's heavy oil plummeted. With no new pipelines coming online anytime soon, the province ordered a cut in production and started shipping more oil by rail. It worked to an extent. Investment in the industry is still way down.
And so that just speaks to the uncertainty in the sector, because although prices are good today, people aren't sure they're going to be good in a quarter or two.
The lack of investment is how the pain of one sector became the pain of an entire province. Alberta's lost more than 120,000 jobs since 2008. The office vacancy rate in downtown Calgary reached a stunning 24.7%. 1/4 of all of these office towers are empty. And the once roaring Alberta economy that led Canada is expected to clock in slightly above Nova Scotia and New Brunswick this year. For all the doom and gloom, the pieces of a recovery are coming together. Enbridge's Line 3 pipeline replacement will add another 370,000 barrels a day of shipping capacity. Until one of those bigger pipeline projects gets approved, the best hope may be shipping oil by railcar.
Over the course of the next year and a half, we could be moving as much as 600,000 barrels a day of crude by rail. That's bigger than the TMX. It's maybe 30% less than the Keystone XL.
So, Alberta's next government inherits this mess. Getting the job market back on track and filling those office towers will require investment, and that requires stability in a market that's been anything but for the better part of a decade now. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
So less than an hour now until polls close and we start to get a sense of Alberta's political future. You know how much I love a good election, Andrew. Until then, though, you are watching developments out of Paris.
Yeah, Rosie, and of course, the difficult question of how much was lost in yesterday's terrible fire at Notre-Dame Cathedral.
Are you crying?
It's like a work of art, and
when I hear people say, oh, we'll just rebuild it, it's not, you just don't rebuild 865 years of history.
This video emerged today of tourists on a dinner cruise along the Seine. Best seats in the house for just about the worst thing imaginable. Notre-Dame is now the scorched heart of Paris. Tonight, we're going to show you just what it would take to restore a monument that is 8 centuries old. But first, the city takes stock of the damage. For 15 hours, the cathedral burned, so the site is still a danger zone as inspectors assess the structure to make sure it'll hold. Thomas Daigle takes us there.
It's a long way up to make sure nothing else comes crashing down. Crews spent the day checking the structural integrity of this centuries-old Catholic cathedral. And from up there, if you're not afraid of heights, it's plain to see the roof looks decimated. And no wonder. The ferocious fire caught on this video by Bernie and Debbie Drum from Toronto.
That's just the smoke.
They came for Holy Week and witnessed something dreadful.
This could take decades possibly to repair, but if they do, we will be back.
The world is now getting a good look at the intense battle firefighters waged inside Notre-Dame Cathedral and that mess left behind. The cross still standing, like a message to believers.
There is something inside and something above this cathedral that makes things different. Maybe we got some help this time from God.
The front of the cathedral may appear unharmed, but look closer and see the symbols of faith scorched.
From the back of the cathedral here, it's easy to see the scaffolding that was being used in restoration work. Investigators are looking into the theory that one of the workers involved in renovations may have started the fire by accident. But authorities are warning the investigation will be long and complex.
By gutting Notre-Dame, the fire indeed gutted the city, with Parisians today making a kind of pilgrimage to see their lady.
The firemen were heroes, really heroes, so we applaud them.
It was very important for me to come this morning because I just wanted to see if it was real.
With all Paris has to offer, the cathedral remains a favorite. Some snapped up souvenirs of what it looked like till now.
Notre-Dame, c'est le cœur de la cité.
Notre-Dame is the heart of the city, she says. It's our culture, whether Christian or not. President Emmanuel Macron addressed the nation, announcing he wants Notre-Dame rebuilt within 5 years. Some might call that wishful thinking. For others, it's faith.
Now, Thomas, you mentioned a few moments ago the investigation's going to be complex. Why is that?
Well, a new timeline tonight is raising questions about whether the damage here could have been prevented in the first place. Consider that the first fire alarm went off at 6:20 p.m. yesterday. There was no smoke or fire spotted. It was believed to be a false alarm. So it was only 23 minutes later when a second alarm went off that the flames were spotted. People here on the left bank could see smoke billowing from the roof, and already that roof was being torn apart by flames. So the question tonight, Andrew, is whether 23 minutes could have made all the difference.
Thomas Daigle in Paris tonight. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Now, the questions aside, there's the cold, hard fact that the damage could have been even worse. As that fire was burning, there were fears the entire structure could have collapsed. But try telling that to anyone with even a vague memory of what used to be inside. Properly maintained and cared for, great buildings can be immortal. The people who first worshipped here may be gone, but Notre-Dame's grandeur and mystery had only grown with history. And now, after the fire, what's left is blackened. 800 years ripped open to the sky. So how can this Notre-Dame ever come back from disaster? As Cam McIntosh explains, they don't build them like that anymore. And even getting close to the original will be tough.
Just look at the ash and rubble. Where do you even begin? Rebuilding is a daunting prospect, but not insurmountable, says the foundation that was helping fund renovations here.
This morning I say, so now what do we need to do? And then let's tackle it. It will be saved, yeah, it will be saved.
The iconic bell towers and flying buttresses still stand. Inside, the vaulted ceiling along the nave has holes. The exterior roof is gone. Replacing the timber from thousands of oaks that took centuries to grow tall enough may be impossible, as could be replacing some of the treasures inside.
It just needs, let's say, a lot of attention.
Andrew Tallon was a Notre-Dame expert who died last year. He may have left behind a starting point, pioneering laser imaging work that recreates all the cathedral's dimensions and surfaces, accurate to within millimeters. But right now it's the charred, first up-close looks getting attention. Firefighters inspected those famed 12th and 13th century rose windows, still intact. But this Canadian stained glass expert says a proper assessment will take time.
Right now they're waiting for everything to cool down, and then they're going to review the masonry, and if the masonry is stable enough, then they'll be able to go up and actually look at the glass.
50 years ago, a similar fire destroyed Western Canada's largest cathedral. As a teen, historian Philip Mayotte watched it burn. It couldn't be restored.
The lesson for Paris is basically, you've had this tragedy, but you've been left with something.
What Paris also has is the public, political, and growing financial will to go ahead. The president of the EU calling on member countries to help.
But at stake here is something more than just material help.
For a project certain to face staggering costs, critical elements are already pulling into place. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Notre-Dame is owned by the French state. The costs of insuring it, just not an option. It was and is priceless, and it's hard to estimate the cost of rebuilding it. The good news, 3 of France's richest families, along with a growing list of companies, have together offered the equivalent of about $1 billion to rebuild Notre-Dame. The bad news, the cathedral took more than $5 million a year just to maintain, and it needed about $200 million worth of structural work before the fire. So the price tag now, sure to be very high. And stick around on this, because we are going to bring in someone who spent years studying that very cathedral, block by block. And she'll explain just how complex an operation rebuilding will be, plus the growing danger facing Canada's own places of worship. That's all in about 15 minutes. Okay, here are some of the other stories we're watching tonight. 3 Ontario teens are facing murder charges in the death of a 17-year-old. Police were called to the scene of an apparent car crash last night near Hamilton, southwest of Toronto. Investigators say the victim was found inside the vehicle but died of a gunshot wound. 2 16-year-olds and a 15-year-old are in custody. Beauceville, Quebec, a town about 90 kilometers south of Quebec City, is grappling with a huge flood. An ice jam under a local bridge gave way, causing a pretty sharp spike in water levels and spilling over the banks of the Chaudière River. About 230 homes have been affected. The town is used to flooding in its downtown core. It happens just about every year, but residents say not usually this bad, not in the last 30 years. CBC News has learned there will be an election in Newfoundland and Labrador on May 15th. Sources tell us Premier Dwight Ball will be with Lieutenant Governor Judy Foote tomorrow morning. Newfoundland was scheduled to have an election in the fall, but the Premier says he doesn't want to interfere with the federal election.
Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, in PEI, the campaign is in full swing. Leaders squared off in a debate just a week before that province goes to the polls. Topics included housing affordability and economic growth. The vote takes place next Tuesday, but already nearly 14,000 Islanders have voted in advance polls. Well, next on The National, what investigators now say about a retired city worker accused of a deadly shooting spree in British Columbia. And as nursing home workers in New Brunswick fight for their right to strike, families say their loved ones are caught in the middle. Plus,
I was actually watching the news, and then big exploding bang.
Yikes. His incredibly close call ahead in tonight's moment.
Celine is taking a crash course in English with a private tutor because she wants to record in English.
What language does he speak at home? At home, Mr. Duval speaks French. Speaks.
She's already mastered several key phrases.
Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. Just a moment. Don't be angry. I'm sorry, sir. My manager is not here now. White. Bien, la musique pour moi, premièrement, c'est...
To me, music is above all a universal language. People can't spend a day without hearing a note of music. Music puts notes of joy into the hearts of children,
Le cœur de tous les enfants.
and sometimes it can put notes of sadness into the hearts of lovers.
14 kids in your family, right? I have 4 children. I thought I was going to go nuts. Maybe I will yet. But 14.
14.
Everybody sings in the family, right?
Another television appearance for 15-year-old Celine Dion, this time in her home city of Montreal.
That's correct. Camera 3, Peter, if you can help me too, Jasmin is going to be on the left of
A young lady who is about to have a million seller in Europe, and I'm sure that you will appreciate her talent. First time on our show, she's a protege of Michel Jasmin. Her name is Céline Dion. Welcome, Céline. Bienvenue. Nice to see you.
Celine's been singing professionally for just under 2 years, but she's already made it big in Quebec and France.
My dream is to be international star.
Offstage, Céline Dion is not unlike most 15-year-old Quebecers. Here she struggles with her very first English interview.
And to be able to sing all my life.
The Dion family, it's musical and it's big. Céline is the youngest of 14 children. She's sung practically since she could talk. At 12, she became professional. At 14, she won the World Song Contest in Japan. At 15, she's won a gold record in France, the first Canadian ever to do it. Now she's at the top of the European song charts. And in Montreal, in the streets, or here at a baseball game, she's a celebrity.
Welcome back to the national special coverage of the Alberta election. I am in Calgary tonight, where polls close here and across the province in about 40 minutes' time. People here and across the country, though, watching and waiting to see which way things will go, including, not surprisingly, the Prime Minister.
There are premiers right across the country right now that have gotten elected, are in the process of being elected. I don't know what time it is right now in Alberta, but that have made very, very clear that they do not think doing anything to fight climate change is a priority. And I disagree with them.
Not sure they'd agree with that assessment, but despite the pushback against the Trudeau government, priorities like the carbon tax, one of the most fiercely debated issues in an election that many call a referendum on Justin Trudeau himself. So we are watching all of this closely, and we'll keep you up to speed.
Now to Penticton, BC, and the shooting spree that left 4 people dead yesterday. A retired city employee has been arrested and charged, and Penticton's a small place. Lots of people in that tight-knit community either knew the victims or the accused. But even still, so many people are at such a loss to explain how this could have happened. Greg Rasmussen is there.
In handcuffs, 68-year-old accused John Britton said nothing as he walked into court. He's now charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of second-degree murder.
I recognize that these heartbreaking events have deeply impacted our community.
The first victim was shot near Penticton's downtown. Police say the accused then drove 5 kilometers to a suburban area where 3 more people were killed in these neighboring houses.
I can also confirm that there were 2 male victims and 2 female victims in their 60s and 70s.
The accused turned himself into police shortly after the second round of shootings. Investigators are still piecing together the relationships between those involved.
Our preliminary investigation has determined that the accused and each of the victims were known to each other. The question of motive remains under investigation.
The accused worked as an engineer before he retired several years ago. The mayor of Penticton first met Britton when he worked for the city, later seeing him at social events after he retired.
Very gentle person. I would have never in a million years ever think that something like this would have happened. You know, I mean, I just don't understand. Very, very sad.
Today, those who were nearby during the shootings are still processing what happened. Eritrea Williams heard shots, then came out of the shop where she works to see a body on the ground.
So we go stand outside and we were wondering what's going on, and they say, oh, someone got shot
over there.
Police aren't naming the victims, but family members have posted that this man, 71-year-old Rudy Winter, is one of those killed.
Britton, is there anything you'd like to say?
But as for his connection to the accused, police aren't saying, waiting for the courts to reveal what led this man to allegedly murder 4 people. Greg Rasmussen, CBC News, Penticton, BC.
And ahead tonight on The National, as Paris begins to sort through the rubble, we ask an expert in medieval architecture why the next Notre-Dame could look different from the one we know. Plus, the efforts to protect Canadian churches from a similar fate.
It's the way they're constructed, the big open spaces, a lot of void spaces, and you know, in many cases they're not occupied for a substantial part of the time, so there's nobody there to discover a fire.
These days, anytime the words politics and Facebook show up in the same sentence, it's sure to get people wondering if they're being manipulated. So if an ad appears in your feed, does it mean you're being targeted? And if so, by whom or what? The questions have prompted CBC News and nonprofit ProPublica in the United States to pair up for an interesting experiment.
By downloading an extension for your web browser to track all of those political ads you see on Facebook.
And so this browser extension looks at all the ads that you see in your Facebook feed and prompts you to kind of help us by trying to figure out, which of the ads that you're seeing, are they political, are they not political?
Julian Scher is the coordinator of the project and senior producer of the CBC's The Fifth Estate.
Okay, Julian, so for the last several weeks, I, along with millions of other people around the world, have been trying to figure out if my data was stolen and used and if I was manipulated somehow. And now you're saying to me, how would you like to download another app so I can have some data? What's the argument for this?
It's reassuring, isn't it? And you can't just say, trust me. Well, in many ways, it's good timing because people were feeling powerless. People were being inundated with a lot of this stuff and wondering, what does it mean? And especially, we've got a bunch of elections coming up, provincial elections in Canada, federal elections. So the purpose of this is to, in fact, help people take back control by looking and analyzing at the flood of political ads that you are getting on your Facebook post. We're not collecting personal information. We don't know who is sending in the information. It's a simple extension where you click and that ad gets sent to a database. It's no different really than we get tips all the time. We get emails where people say, hey, I saw this ad. Can you find out who's behind it or can you investigate? This is the same thing. It's just being done automatically.
Okay, so give me an example of what you would do with the information. Give us a hypothetical.
Well, I can give you a real example. We saw one ad where a conservative evangelical leader had posted an ad trying to target people who were concerned about sex education and getting them to vote for Doug Ford. This is perfectly legitimate, but this is interesting. Is this a hot button issue? Will it become a hot button issue? These are the kinds of ads that individuals might see, but the rest of us would not.
And I think you raise an interesting point because political advertising is older than I am, older than you are. It's been around forever. Even targeted advertising, the parties have always had some kind of intel about who votes, what way, what they care about. So is the difference here this kind of micro-targeting where no one else knows what someone else is seeing?
Exactly. And in fact, one of the beauties of this app, by the way, is it shows you not only the ads that are appearing on your post, but also across Canada by other users. So actually, it opens up a window for you. But you're right, there's always been this kind of targeting, but not to the level that Facebook allows. And that's what has made Facebook so controversial. And also not with the breadth, because you could reach millions of Canadians with a single post. I mean, the simple fact is that this is the new terrain where politics is being fought. So why shouldn't the public get engaged? Why shouldn't, this is crowdsourcing at its best, why shouldn't the public help CBC and media around the world investigate what politicians and lobby groups are doing in our backyard, which is your browser? So it's empowering, I think. I don't think it's scary.
bells of Westminster Abbey in London tolled today, at exactly the moment the fire at Notre-Dame began. And that same act of solidarity was heard in churches around the world, from Cologne, Germany, to New York. No one was killed or even hurt in that fire, but there is a reason the burning of Notre-Dame has had such an impact. It is a place shared in the memories of millions, across countries, across centuries even, and all of it was being erased by fire before people's very eyes in real time. Consider what that looked and sounded like.
It's really, really sad to just watch it all get burned down and ruined by a fire.
Bah, j'ai envie de pleurer. Ouais. Ça me crée ça me bouleverse.
J'aurais eu l'impression d'assister au décès d'un ami et ça me rendait hyper triste.
I feel like Paris is crying now, not just me.
The basilic was talking to me, so I wanted to be here to communicate with the place.
It exists as a symbol, and we need it.
Le temps, mesdames, messieurs, est à la reconstruction. Le temps, mesdames, messieurs, est à la solidarité dans l'émotion.
So you can see and hear the hearts and thoughts of Paris have already started that gradual turn to what's next. How to rebuild a structure that's more than 800 years old. And if it can be done, how different might it end up being? Caroline Brzelius is an art historian at Duke University in North Carolina, also an expert in medieval and Gothic architecture. Caroline, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. You spent years studying this very cathedral. Can you tell us, what are your greatest concerns when it comes to understanding just how damaged this cathedral may be?
Yes, Andrew. Well, looking at the photographs, you can see that the damage to the vault seems to be primarily in two locations, and one at the crossing is where the spire fell through, and another vault has failed also. The question right now, and it's urgent and critical, will be what condition are the other vaults in? How much were they damaged by the fire? Because that fire was incredible. It was incredibly hot. And any part of the stone structure, and that's the walls of the building, and that's the vaults of the building, that was adjacent to that fire will be at risk. So it is complicated. On the one hand, you have the stone walls, and that's what you see when you walk in. But then above that, and what you do not see, is what was burning yesterday, a huge wooden roof that's like a forest inside the building. Many old oak beams constructed in a very complicated system and somehow that caught fire. We don't really know quite yet how.
But then I also think of the challenge of recreating it to the eye, to a point where it's faithful to the original and accurate. I mean, how difficult would that be?
You've got to make a philosophical, maybe even political decision. What state of the building are you recreating? Remember that Notre-Dame has been reworked on many occasions in the mid-19th century. Several decades were spent restoring the building after the damage of the French Revolution. That restoration was in many ways a reinterpretation of this building. You want to go back to the 19th century reinterpretation? That's fine, and that is where that beautiful spire came from. Or do you want to go back to the 12th century or the 13th century? So complicated discussions need to take place about which Notre-Dame, which phase of the history of Notre-Dame are we talking about?
But even just from a practical standpoint, I mean, if you look at the roof, I mean, as flammable as it was, I mean, is there a consideration here where you would think, okay, maybe we don't want a strictly accurate representation of how it used to be, but is there a way to bring this cathedral into the 21st century so you don't have the same sort of fire danger as there was?
That's another critical question, and that again will impinge on the amount of time that they need to do the restoration. Do you want to replace the oak beams and have the roof more or less as it was with the original type of material, or do you want to take advantage of new materials that are now available? That part of the roof, of course, is not visible to the public. So, you know, it may be more practical, it may be less expensive, it may be safer to use modern materials, but they will have to decide if that's what they want.
One last thing I'd like to ask you is about the timeline. I mean, we heard the French President Emmanuel Macron talk about 5 years as the goal to rebuild the cathedral. Is that possible?
5 years would be wonderful. I tend to think that's a bit optimistic. If it's 10 years or 15 years, it will be rebuilt. We can be optimistic, and we can think that this building will return to be a vital part of the city of Paris and of the French identity as it was before.
Well, Caroline Bruzelius of Duke University, thank you for giving us your time and your insights. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye.
Now, some of Canada's oldest buildings are also places of worship. Montreal alone has 450 churches that date back to the 1800s or earlier. And that history is far less cared for, far more vulnerable than you might think. Alison Northcott takes us to another Notre-Dame, one a lot closer to home.
At Montreal's Notre-Dame Basilica, a special mass in solidarity with Paris. More than 40 years ago, the basilica was the scene of its own fire when the building's chapel went up in flames. Since then, the church has been brought up to code with fire prevention measures. But not every place of worship is as protected.
You can see there's some of the stonework has collapsed here.
This church was vacant when a fire broke out last month.
If you look up high, it's very similar to the way Notre-Dame was built.
Gordon Routley with the Montreal Fire Department says structures like this are especially hard to protect.
It's the way they're constructed, the big open spaces, a lot of void spaces, and you know, in many cases they're not occupied for a substantial part of the time, so there's nobody there to discover a fire.
The Catholic Archdiocese of Montreal says its parishes have been working on fire prevention with sprinklers and alarms, but it says a bigger threat is neglect, and the aging, sometimes empty buildings are more at risk of falling apart than burning down.
Every neighborhood there should be, you know, a collective reflection on what are we doing with the buildings that are sacred spaces in our neighborhood.
This conservation architect says a lot of those spaces lack the money they need to survive.
They're vulnerable to deterioration because there's not, the congregation no longer necessarily has the capital funds to invest in the building. They are built well and they can withstand a lot, but they can't withstand decades of neglect.
The Quebec government says it plans to invest $100 million over the next 5 years to help protect designated religious heritage sites. But the diocese says that still leaves many other parishes without the money they need. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
And up next on The National, we will take you to New Brunswick, where thousands of families are facing uncertainty.
I'm worried that if the nursing home workers are indeed allowed to go on strike, that my mother could develop complications and that she could actually die.
You're that worried?
Definitely.
First, though, a look at a story you'll see here tomorrow night. Chris Brown takes us to Kiev for a closer look at what's at stake in the upcoming Ukrainian election.
Sergei Mokreniuk believes getting Crimea back should be the most important issue for Ukrainians as they prepare to elect a new leader. Now in exile, there's no doubt how Russian authorities view him. This is his wanted poster. Your neighbor Sergei is a traitor of Crimea, it says. And there were hundreds of these put up around his hometown. In the spring of 2014, he helped organize anti-Russian protests.
Я понимаю, что русские продолжат преследование всех. Я был тот, кто организовывал акции, однозначно. Я вынужден был ехать.
Welcome back to the National Special Alberta election coverage, live from a rather windy Calgary tonight. Polls close in just about 15 minutes from now, and Jason Kenney's supporters are hoping for a convincing win. This is a live look at Kenney's campaign headquarters, just down the hill, in fact, from where I am in Calgary. Among the guests expected tonight, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper and his wife, Laureen, And probably some other Conservatives too. Now, let's go to the NDP headquarters in Edmonton this hour. Pretty empty room for now, but supporters won't be let in until the polls close in just a few minutes, so that'll probably fill up fast. We'll keep you updated on results, of course, as they roll in.
Well, the talks failed, the protests didn't work, and now after 2.5 years, a labor battle in New Brunswick is coming to a head. A judge will hear a case tomorrow over whether nursing home workers should be allowed to strike. It would affect thousands of people, and not just those who live in the homes, but their families too, who, as David Common explains, would be forced to make some very tough choices.
Hi, Mom. How are you? You're looking beautiful.
If there is a serenity in dementia, it's that Marion Lyons has no idea of the engulfing storm, and her son Stuart is consumed by what might happen.
So happy to see you.
As she grips the doll that brings comfort to her confusion, the caregivers in her home and across the province are on the verge of walking out.
What that means is basically that we're the ones that are actually going to be having to take care of her care.
Across New Brunswick, 4,500 families are being asked what they can do to help. Questions sent home, like letters from a teacher. Could you take your mother home?
The answer is no. My mother is bedridden or wheelchair bound, and we require a lift in order to get her out of the bed.
Can you assign family and friends to stay with your mother to ensure their safety for the duration of a strike 24 hours a day?
I don't have enough family and friends to do that, so the answer was no.
Neither can he afford to pay someone else to come in.
I'm worried that if the nursing home workers are indeed allowed to go on strike, that my mother could develop complications from not getting the care that she needs, and that she could actually die.
You're that worried?
Definitely.
In many ways, this rally in Fredericton is only the latest and loudest version of a fight happening across Canada. Worker shortages in the country's nursing homes.
No justice, no peace.
And here, a labor war tied directly to the province's aging population. Older already than the rest of the country, but the same demographic shift is about to sweep the nation.
It's not fair. You pay taxes all your life to end up in a home, you raise a family, and you end up having to ring a bell for 20 minutes because there's only 2 of us for 30 people.
How many people do you look after?
So, in a run of a day on my shift, there are 2 girls, basically, on a floor with 29 residents.
We are tired because we are not adequately staffed.
The care home workers argue they're run off their feet, dumping their worn-out shoes outside the minister's office to prove a point. They say there are too few staff working for too little money, exacerbated by hundreds who are leaving the profession, unable to make ends meet. After 28 months of fruitless negotiations, care workers confronted Premier Blaine Higgs. And what happened next stunned many in the province.
I have a sister that works for LPN in Alberta, and she makes $10 more than I do an hour.
Well, in Alberta, that may be true.
Yeah,
and
well,
if you want that kind of wage, then Alberta's where to get it.
Well,
You made a comment about moving to Alberta. Do you regret it?
No, it's a factual. I mean, it's the reality of we aren't trying to compete with Alberta's wages, and we never have been. And it's a very poor comparison to make. We have never been in a position to compete with Alberta's wages. And I can't go out and tax people more.
So you're saying you can't afford it?
We can't afford it because I don't have the revenue. I can't tax people more to get it.
With no one now negotiating, the care workers are asking New Brunswick's highest court to confirm they have the right to strike. If they do and they use it, there may suddenly be just a handful of managers to care for dozens of the fragile and sick in each home. And systemic short staffing is, according to the union, a key issue and problem.
We are brothers and sisters of all sectors of unions.
Sharon Tier is one of the caregivers who may soon be on strike. Do you have enough people to get residents to the washroom in time?
No.
Do you have enough people to feed those who need help?
No.
Can you respond quickly if a resident falls?
No.
And as the union president, it'll be up to her to decide if they do walk.
There's not a nursing home worker, as I said, who want to go out on strike, who look after the most vulnerable. But we can't continue the way we're continuing either. I mean, the crisis is only going to build. We're doing the best with what it is that we have, and that's why our hearts are broken.
Similar concerns are echoing across Canada. Staffing levels have, in many cases, decreased, even as the acuity of elderly residents has increased. More dementia, more unpredictability, the very vulnerable getting sicker, yet living longer. A recent CBC Marketplace hidden camera investigation in Ontario found staff rushing from person to person, often delayed, leaving residents for hours in incontinence products.
She's been waiting to use the washroom for like an hour.
Stories like that resonate with Sharon Tier.
One lady had fallen, had quite a bang in her head, and quite badly bruised, but for about 15 minutes, we could calculate that she had laid there before anyone was able to come and find her.
What does that do to you?
Well, it breaks your heart. It's nothing for you to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and go, oh my God, I forgot to mark something, and you're calling into the nursing home.
I feel that this is a very life-threatening situation. I feel that basically that's unethical and it's immoral for members of a union to walk out on bedridden and wheelchair-bound seniors.
Stuart Lyons can't believe there isn't yet an agreement to avoid a strike and keep his mother Marion safe in her nursing home.
Our society, we should now be giving back to help her and to make sure that in her last days that, my mother dies with dignity. I don't want my mother to die because a government says we don't have enough money to pay the nursing home workers. That's not the death that I want for my mother. I just want my mother to die naturally, with dignity.
After a long life, now blurred by dementia, the vulnerable, like Marion, are caught in a fight they don't understand, but one that directly impacts them, with no clear sign of what will happen next. David Common, CBC News, Moncton.
And up next on The National, the moment a car slammed through a living room window in Ottawa.
Todd called me and said, you need to get home right away, and I thought it was maybe because it was his birthday, but it was because he'd almost been killed by a car.
That close call is our moment tonight, but first. In case you missed it, more than 5 years after hockey players and figure skaters last teamed up to compete for glory, Battle of the Blades is coming back. And nobody was happier or more surprised than the co-creator of the show herself, retired figure skating great Sandra Bezic.
I didn't realize how much momentum there was still behind the show from the general public. Children loved it. Their grandparents loved it. It is one show where the entire family can sit together and have some fun.
Now, it's fair to say the world has changed since 2013, and Bezic says the new Blades will reflect that.
We're working on different ideas to involve the audience. We really want Battle of the Blades to be open to everyone. We hope that it's diverse and full of life from every direction.
Not everything has been ironed out yet, obviously, but in this modern era with unpredictable tastes, there's always room to, how shall I say, experiment?
A perfect headbutt!
Not that we're, making suggestions or anything. Season 5 of Battle of the Blades will air this fall on CBC Television.
One thing I've always wanted to know, do you scare yourself when you're writing these books?
Once in a while. Not very often. A lot of times what you feel surfacing on your face is the sort of grin that I'm wearing right now, because you know it's tight and right and that it's working. And for instance, I'm on tour to promote this movie Maximum Overdrive, and when we did dailies and something came off that might be really grotesque, and in some cases turned out to be much too grotesque to actually be in the film, you would hear people laughing hilariously and they would applaud and stuff like that. because your first emotion in both humor and horror is this sort of childish delight. That's a very low emotion, but
delight and
once
relief,
in a while,
one might add, that it's over.
There was a bathtub scene in The Shining where I scared myself, and in Pet Sematary, for long periods of time, I just felt very, very wired and very uncomfortable with what I was writing about.
You once described people's love of horror as that feeling of being afraid to put their fingers in the toaster, or somehow a secret fascination with the person who got ground up in an industrial blender, that type of thing, and the penchant to stop and look at accidents. But in your own personal life, are there things that you are actually afraid of? Because you certainly make people afraid of their dogs, their cars, their trucks, their cats.
Well, I'm afraid of trucks and cars. I mean, Maximum Overdrive is about trucks. Christine was about a car that drives by itself. Because as a child, they seem so large and I seem so small, and I had the same imagination then that I do now, except that for a kid, everything is harder to control. That's why they fall down and have scabby knees all the time. And I would imagine them starting up, even if they were stopped, and kind of scuttle behind them because they look so big and blind, and bulldozers. The treads look so cruel, and I would imagine what would happen to my little fingers if they started to move while my not that I would have ever gotten my fingers near them. But even today, if I put an English muffin in the toaster and it only comes about halfway up, I pick up a fork and I start toward that toaster, and I can hear that toaster saying, "Go ahead, punk, make my day."
But when you, I'm just imagining this. I just imagine being in your mind all the time. I mean, you must never stop, and that's why you must write.
What an awful squirming can of worms.
That's right.
No, it's really not like that at all.
Well, you're probably healthier than most people
Except
because
for the
you give vent
blackouts.
to so much, except for the
Yeah,
blackouts.
you know, that's
and the full moon, those times bad.
Yeah, that's the best part of it, is that somebody who's got problems and fears and phobias, they go to a psychiatrist and it costs them maybe $150 an hour, and they don't even get a full hour, they get 50 minutes. I do it, people pay me. It's great.
Well, you've made a ton of money, too. I mean, not to say that you
Gross
probably aren't having
amounts
the
of
best
it.
time of your life, but you also made about $25 million on these
It's
books.
not that much yet, but I guess it could get there. Gross, huge amounts of money, yeah. I guess it's real. I get statements, and I have a business manager and all that, but it's paper. You know, he says, we're going into gold. I say, good, send me some. What? I can't do that. I said, sure you can. Send me some gold. It's legal now. So he finally sent me a piece of gold, and it was very boring. It's just a thing.
It doesn't do anything unless it comes alive and eats you.
It doesn't sing or dance.
No.
No, it's true.
But you don't have any desires to become, on a grandiose scale, to have the Stephen King Park of Horrors or anything like this. You don't want to elaborate further than the movies and the written word, do you?
No, I don't even think I want to make another movie. It's a primitive way to create. I mean, it's interesting for that reason, because you have to overcome so many odds. You know what I'd really like to have?
What?
A pair of lizard skin boots.
Live lizards?
No, they could crawl a little bit at night or something like that.
Yeah, just move over carefully to the other side of the room, right? Just keep you on the edge.
But actually, this whole image is just totally overblown. I have the heart of a small boy. I keep it in a jar on my desk.
Well, it would otherwise have been a regular Tuesday morning in Ottawa for Todd Edwardson. He was watching TV in his living room, but then an SUV crashed right through his front window, just narrowly missing him. He's okay, though, still wrapping his head around what happened. Have a listen to how he tells it in tonight's moment.
I was actually watching the news, and then big exploding bang. I just looked around to the and then went to the door, and taking it didn't really do a lot. And first I called my wife shortly after.
Todd called me and said, you need to get home right away, and I thought it was maybe because it was his birthday, but it was because he'd almost been killed by a car.
I would say the couch is a couple meters away from the window. I was sitting on that couch. There was a desk at the window, and that's, of course, crushed. All the glass around me, and could have been a very different situation. I'm pretty shaken. You're not expecting a car to come through your window.
Yeah, I'll say. So at this point, you may be wondering, so what the heck actually happened? We don't really have many details about the person who was driving the car itself, except to know that she was taken to hospital. She's in stable condition, but as for the house, you can see really badly damaged, and that couple won't be going back anytime soon. That's The National for this April 16th. Have a good night.